Hello everyone, welcome back. And this video we're going to cover section 1.6, which deals with adding and subtracting fractions. So everybody is super excited, I know. So in order to add and subtract fractions, the way that we do them is we cannot combine them unless they have the same denominator, okay? So it makes a lot of sense because if you think about it, if you have like, a pizza cut into fourths and another pizza cut into fourths, it's easier to add together if they're the same type of fraction. But if you're saying, okay, here I have a pizza cut into fourths and I want to add 1/4 of this to this other one that's 1/3, how would I express that? It's definitely not 1/7 because it's a lot bigger, right? So, or 2/7 even. So let's go ahead and explore this, okay? So first of all, what's the property? So if you have two fractions that have the same denominator, all you do is add across the top, that's the sum, or subtraction, right? Or subtract, and notice that the denominator is the same, okay? So when adding or subtracting, denominator stays the same. Stays the same. Okay. All right, let's do some super fun examples. Okay, so here we have x over 3 plus 2 over 3. So we have x over 3 plus 2 over 3. What's the rule? Denominators are common. Yes, okay. And we just add across the top, so the top will be x plus 2 because we cannot combine unlike terms, right? X is a variable, 2 is a constant. You can't combine them. Okay, so let's do this next one. Again, if you feel, if you have time, pause me, try these examples on your own, then unpause and see how I do them and compare answers. Again, I cannot say this enough. That's going to be the best experience for you. If we were in person, I would force you to do it. But since I can't force you to do it, honor system, try it anyways. Okay, so x over 4 plus 3 over 4. Denominator remains the same. We add across the top. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so you can see that the same one is this one right here, y over 8 plus 5/8. Okay, so denominator is the same, check. Just write that guy down there. And across the top, these are unlike terms, so y plus 5. Okay, so let's do a numerical example here. We have, we can rewrite these fractions. 23 over 24, minus 13 over 24. Okay, remember, denominator remains the same. And now we just combine the numerator. So that's going to be negative 23 minus 13. Well, we know that that's the same sign, so we add, keep the sign, 36, negative 36 over 24. Are we done here, my friends? No, we're not. Why not, you ask? Because we have a common denominator, right? We can divide top and bottom by 12. Okay, so what does that become? That becomes negative 3 over 2. Okay, let's do some more fun examples. So let's go ahead and simplify this. So we have the denominator is x, along the top, negative 10 minus 4. So that becomes negative 14 over x. In this case, again, we're doing left to right. You have 3/8 plus negative 5/8. So you can denominator the same, 3 minus 5 across the top, minus 1/8. Now you could ask yourself, okay, well, can I just write them all across the numerator and then solve it that way? And if you thought that, yes, you are right. You can totally do that. Okay, so this is negative 2/8 minus 1/8. Same signs, add, keep the sign. Okay, so negative 2 minus 1 is what today? Negative 3. And we cannot reduce that, so we leave it as is. So let's go ahead and do, let's write all these three as one common fraction. So what would that be? That would be minus 2 minus 4 minus 7, right? Remember that plus and minus is the same thing as writing a minus, okay? Remember, so what's this? This is a negative 2, negative 4, and negative 7. So that's going to be negative 6 minus 7 all over 9. That's going to be negative 13 over 9. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. These are all 9s. So let's go ahead and leave it like that. You get 5 minus 4 minus 7. That's going to be 1 minus 7. And that's going to be negative 6. Sorry, this is over 9. Negative 6 over 9. And we could reduce that by a common factor of 3. And that becomes negative 2/3. Okay. Not too bad, right? Not too painful. Okay, so let's talk about LCD for a minute. So what is that? The least common denominator. We did a little bit of this when we started going over LCMs. Remember we did least common multiple where we wrote it out. So here you have 7/12 plus 5 over 18. Okay, so what's the common denominator of 12 and 18? So there's two ways to do this, right? We can say, okay, well, 12, what are the multiples of 12? You have 12, 24, 36, 48, and 18. You have 18, 36. Oh, hold the phone. These are the same, okay? So I needed to write 12 3 times, and I needed to write 18 twice to get to the common multiple of 36. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to create equivalent fractions that have the same denominator so I can easily add across the top, okay? So 7/12, what's the equivalent fraction of 7/12? If I multiply top and bottom by 3, which is totally allowed if you watched the last video, that's going to be 21 over 36. And then for the next one, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2. That's 10 over 36. Combine across, that's going to be 31 over 36, and we're done. See, not too bad, right? Okay, so here we have 7/12 and 15. So the same way, we have 12, 24. We're listing the common multiples. 36, 48, 60, 60. That's a 6 and a 0. Sorry, that looks terrible. Let me do that over. 60. And then for 15, we have 30, 45, and 60. Okay, so we stop there. That's the least common multiple. So how many times did I write 12? I wrote it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 12 gives me 60, okay? And then 15, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So then I have to multiply top and bottom by 4. You kind of see what I'm doing here? So, so this is going to be times 5 times 5, the equivalent to 7/12 with a denominator of 60 is 35 over 60. And then 11/15 top and bottom by 4, we get 44 over 60. And what was the operation? We were supposed to add them. So let's go ahead and add them vertically because it's easier. And that's going to be 79 over 60, and we're done. Okay. So first of all, let's just recap what we just did, okay? So when you have two fractions, you ask yourself, okay, do they have a common denominator, yes or no? Yes, then you just go ahead and go and add or subtract across. But if they don't, we need to find the equivalent fraction where the denominator is the LCM of both of them, okay? So basically, we're rewriting them with the common denominator so that we can either add or subtract across the top. Okay, now this is another way to find the LCD and instead of listing. So if you notice here, 12 and 18, if we write the prime factorization of 12, okay, so remember what prime factorization is. It's when you factor using this little tree and you stop at the primes, okay? So 12 can be rewritten as 2 times 2 times 3, and then 18 we could write as 2 times 9, right? That's a prime, 3 and 3. So that's where I get this, okay? So another way to find the LCD is if you list the factors on top of each other here. So you match them up. So you have 12 is equal to 2 times 2 times 3. 18 is 2 times, and then there's not another 2 here. Here's a 3 and a 3. And you basically bring them down. You're not adding them. You're saying, okay, I have 1, 2 here. This one I need to bring down also. This one I bring down here, and then this one is a 3 here because it doesn't have a partner. So when you multiply all this out, you get 36. Now, play with that process a little bit. You know, if it's better for you to list the multiples, that's fine. But this is another way to do it, and it will be right every time. So I kind of want you to start getting accustomed to prime factorization, and then grouping them together and finding the LCD that way. Okay, but baby steps. Okay, so what is the LCD for 15 and 24? So let's go ahead and try that using this new way. So what is the factors of 15? We know that that's 3 times 5. What about 24? Primes. 24 is going to be 3 times 8, which is 2 cubed, 2 and 4, right? So here's the primes for 24. So 24, it has a 3. It does not have a 5, so I skip that. Then it has 3 2s, right? So if you want to find the LCD, we just bring down. So this is going to be a 3 times a 5 times a 2 times 2 times 2. And what is that? 15 times 8. 15 times 8, I want to say, is 120. Okay, so then your LCD is 120. Okay, so now we need to rewrite this into, the denominator 120. Okay, that's kind of where we want to go. But how do we get from 15 to 120? Well, the nice thing is you can divide. If you divide 120 by 15, then we know to multiply top and bottom by 8. Okay, so the equivalent fraction is 56 over 120. Now, what's 120 divided by 24? That's 5. So multiply top and bottom by 5. And 19 times 5 is going to give you what? 95. Okay, so what you're actually doing is 56 over 120 minus 95 over 120, which is, right, we subtract, that's negative 39 over 120. And we could reduce this. If we divide top and bottom by 3, what do we get? So 39 divided by 3, that's 13. And 120 divided by 3 is 40. Okay. All right. So for this one, we have 24 and 32. What are the factors of 24? Okay, so another way to think of this, you can do the listing thing again. Let's say, okay, this is 8 times, what is the prime factorization of 24? That's 3 times 8. Again, we just did that. Okay, so we know that it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Okay, and then 32 is going to be 8 times 4, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 4. Or we could write that, so let me just, here, it's 2 5 times, okay? So, okay, we need to leave a space here because we don't have a 3 for 32. So using this column method, 2 times 2 times 2, bring down the 3, okay, bring down everything else. And the LCD is going to be 32 times 3, which is what? 96? 96. Okay, so now that we know where we're going, okay, so we write that here in this way, and we figure out, okay, I'm trying to rewrite the equivalent fraction of 13 over 24 with a denominator of 96. So I need to divide 96 by 24. Wait. So 96 divided by 24 is what? 4. Yes. Okay. So multiply top and bottom by 4. Times 4 times 4. And that's going to give you 52 here. And then 32 times 3 is 96 today. And what is 17 times 3? Well, that's just 51. So then we get 52 minus 51. That's just 1 over 96. Okay, not too bad. Okay, so just to recap, fraction multiplication, multiply across the top and the bottom. Division, you flip the, you take the division, flip the second fraction, multiply by its reciprocal. Addition, common denominator, subtract, add across the top. Subtraction, common denominator, subtract across the top. So in other words, to multiply or divide, you do not need an LCD. But when you add or subtract, you do need to have the LCD.